Um, Next, Isabella Broad, I hope I said that name right, would like to know how would you encourage green building in Philadelphia?
I think that there's a couple ways to do it. You can obviously build it in in the building code, which you can set. You can use sort of incentives that I talked about in terms of the permitting process. You can use sort of tax credits as a way to drive that process. So you can use tax credit. You can put it in the building code. You can use the permitting process to kind of drive. And then last but not least, a mayor can use the bully pulpit to raise the consciousness of people, recognizing that this is very important to the future of the city, as well as just getting people to be involved in the part of wanting a greener and cleaner city.
Okay. We have a question from Platt, who asks, how would you ensure that the two riverfronts in Philadelphia are open for the public with development sensitive to such access?
Well, I think that again gets back to our planning commission in terms of decision. I think that we have been lacking real serious planning and thinking that through. I think I would talk about using the tax code as a way to do it. Use the regulatory agencies as a way to drive that kind of behavior. So one, I'll talk about we need to get back to some real serious planning, which has been lacking. We also need to use the tax code, and we use the regulatory process. And then the mayor, again, has the bully pulpit to raise the consciousness of directing. I think that has been lacking at this point, especially the part about planning.
Okay. We have another question from Isabel, who wants to know, as mayor, how would you reduce the city's CO2 emissions and other greenhouse gases?
Well, obviously, it's something that I talked about with planning. The trees are something that would be a huge factor. The other aspect is the greening of automobiles. I've talked about the aspect of having a goal to try to move away from the element of gasoline. And I think that, that is something that specifically is in the hands of the mayor, and that's something that can move. The planting of the trees obviously is promoting us in the aspect of changing the fleet of automobiles and stuff that we have.
I have a question about your recycling program that you mentioned here. The Recycle Bank, if I'm not mistaken, currently pays people to recycle. So would it be that the city would get the money from the recycling, and how would that affect the people who are currently in the program?
I would, obviously the best 2 miles that we have is in Chestnut Hill and West Oak Lane at this particular point. And I do believe the money is one incentive, but I do believe education has to be another part of the incentive. I mean, I think we got to get people to understand how this is ultimately very beneficial to the bottom line of the city of Philadelphia if we begin to just move people. Now, I think you raised the point earlier when you talked about schools and education. Look, we don't even talk about that in school, the aspect of recycling and what recycling means. I think that you can use the school system. I think that you can use the church organizations. I think you can use community organizations. I think you can use all aspects of the communities involved to get them to understand the importance of recycling, what it does mean long-term future for the city of Philadelphia.
I have a follow-up question. Have you ever considered single stream recycling, which is that you just dump everything in the same container, and then I'm not exactly sure how it works, but somehow it is sorted out, and so it takes kind of the kind of education need out of it.
That's a good question. I don't particularly have an answer for that right here on the spot. I couldn't tell you. But I think I'll be open for both. I mean, you could look at that aspect of it. You can look at the education. I don't think it's an either or.
Okay.
I think that we clearly have to have this as an objective to try to achieve.
Okay. The next question comes from Bill Lefevre, who would like to know, would you be willing to increase the budget of Fairmount Parks by $3 million or 25% immediately as a start towards improving the city's parks?
Hey, Bill, I guess I'm always open to look at some things. I don't want to make a particular commitment of that nature at this point. And primarily why I don't, Bill, because I've talked about the need of hiring 500 additional police officers. I've talked about the need of moving more money to the school district to make sure class size reduction. I've talked about adding laptops in schools. I've talked about those things. So I've been a little hesitant about talking about additional commitments because part of the reason why this city got itself in trouble in the early 1990s and have what you call the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Authority, which is oversight of the city's finance, is primarily on the basis because we have not managed our finances properly. The same thing with the Philadelphia School District in terms of the SRC. And I think what is very important is maintaining the city's fiscal health. Now, could we potentially find $3 million in a $3.6, $3.7 billion budget? The answer is yes, but I say this to you. We need to invest money in infrastructure. We have a gas works that is not functioning. So I'm not saying absolutely no to you. I'm saying to you I want to look at the finances first before I make any other kinds of commitments. I mean, I think it's important if you have a person running for public office that there's truthfulness, honesty, and integrity in what I say. Because I'm not one who just want to tell you, as much as I'd like to get your support for my candidacy, I just don't want you telling you things that maybe I don't think is possible for me to do at this particular point.
Okay. Next is a question from Cameron, who would like to know, how do you hope to work with this Philadelphia City Council to enact your environmental plan and your other initiatives?
Well, you know, Karen, let me say this to you. I've been a legislator for 26 years. I know every single council person who's in the city council. I understand the importance of having council people be very much a part of your strategy and your thinking. You know, Councilwoman Marion Taskell is a supporter of mine. Councilwoman Donna Reed Miller is a supporter of my candidacy. Those are two council persons, one from the 8th Councilmanic District and the other from the 9th Councilmanic District, and they both support my candidacy. And I've worked closely with them. And the thing I recognize, and I've worked with a lot of chief executives in Harrisburg, from Governor Thornburg to Governor Rendell. And whatever a governor does, like whatever a mayor does, you have to have a partnership. No mayor can move this city forward without having a partnership. You know, for many years in this city, unfortunately, it's been a lot of antagonism between the executive branch and the council. I promise you, and I make this commitment here today, if I'm fortunate enough and should be elected, I assure you that we will work together. I think when the mayor and the council really works together, you can see a difference. I think you saw a difference when Governor Rendell and Mayor Rendell and President John Street worked together. It's all beneficial to the city of Philadelphia. So what I will do is kind of outlay what I think the vision and the direction is for the city of Philadelphia, but I will have to work with the council people, and I make this commitment that I will work with the council people.